Hi. Hi. Okay, of course you would. It's not me and you two that are fighting. I can never get a hang of this your stupid live streaming. It's not me and you two we are fighting. I can never get a hang of this your stupid live
it's not what
streaming.
happened.
You just keep stressing my life. Do you know how many lives I've done today?
What
People have
happened?
joined
Did you
in left
Google?
it. So I joined. So initially I set it up on my phone. Let's stop your phone. You cannot join on your. Mm-hmm.
So what's the problem now? Let's try to solve it.
Mm-hmm. I've eventually solved it, but everybody, all my something viewers are joined the first and it's thing there.
Oh, so are they gonna join back now?
Hopefully, if not, I have another meeting by 6. But now I'm come sleep and wait till sleep
Oh, you
tomorrow
found your
night.
lights?
It came today.
Oh, you bought.
It's
Is it
different
from?
from yours.
But it's the same place,
The
right?
same place. This one has
Which one
like
is brighter?
this one has two colors.
That one too has. You can
Just
press it. When
okay. Hi everybody. We have 3 people. Sorry.
the smell.
Okay, so three. Let's wait for other people to join. I've really tried to like I have suffered, but to God be the glory. We're all here. So basically, I'll just proceed anyways. Let's just set the ball rolling because we do not have that much time left. So REITs basically introduction to real estate investment trust. So real estate investment trusts are companies that manages, leases, operates real estate properties, and they do it on a large scale. And usually they also do it by crowdfunding and getting money from investors. Now they are mandated by law to pay out 90% of their profit. Please, can you hear me? I hope everybody can hear me though. Please, you can hear me. Say yes. Let me think about it. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Hear me? Hear me? Okay. Hi, Okiki. Hi, Trisha. Sorry, today has been crazy with the whole, YouTube thingy. I thought I was very technologically savvy, but YouTube has humbled me today. I have been humbled. So, introduction to real estate investment trusts. That's what we're talking about today. So, REITs is very important when it comes to, you know, investing and building wealth. So, I always say that in today's world, it is very difficult for people, youngsters, you and me, the Gen Zs, the millennials, to have access to investing in properties. Like it's become much more difficult to climb the property ladder. I know that if you want to go and buy a house now, like a good house, especially for those of us that live in the UK, you're hearing about, oh, you have to bring 30, 40K, as down payment. If you're a single person, just one person, that's going to be difficult for you to do. For those of us in Nigeria, and that is a totally different ball game. Properties go for like what net 100 million, like for group and above for good locations and all. So it's become a little bit more difficult to climb the property ladder, which is why I love REITs, which are called real estate investment trusts. And that's simply because they are a way for you to enter real estate investing with less capital, basically with minimum capital. So when you think of real estate investment trust, they are companies, right, that lease, manage properties basically, or operate finance income producing real estate, on a large scale, right? So they provide individuals like you and me opportunities to invest in large scale real estate properties that ordinarily we will not be able to. So when you think of some of the top real estate REITs companies like Realty Income, for example, which is one of my favorite REIT company of all time, they are the landlords to Amazon, right? So you know how when you order something from Amazon, they already have it stocked in their warehouse and they just ship it off to you. So when you think of Amazon warehouses, you're thinking of realty income. So they are the ones that rent out those properties to Amazon. When you think of retail stores like Walgreens, Greens Alliance, and what's the other one called? So I'm gonna remember the name. They are the ones that rent out properties to, these big guys. And one reason why I love REITs as well is that they are mandated by law to pay out 90% of their profit to us as dividend. So what that means is if a REIT stock makes 1 billion, dollars, for example, they have to pay us 900 million, right? As dividends. So the good thing about REITs is your earnings per share, which is how much you earn for every share you own, is always surprising. Like it's never the same. It's always, fluctuating. And usually for dividend kings that pay like dividends rate, it goes up all the time because again, if a REIT makes more money than they made last year, they remember they have to pay out 90% of that to you. So last year you could have earned, let's say for example, $1 per share. And let's say you had 100 shares of the REIT stock, right? That meant you earned $100, right, for that REIT stock. And then the next year, they made times two of what they made last year. They're probably going to earn $2, right, per share because again, they are mandated by law to pay out 90% of their income. So yes, this is I always like to say, like, if you take the money you want to invest in a property, then the £20,000 or the 50 million naira, and you buy a REIT stock, for example, you're literally going to earn like between, let's say, $500 to 1K, depending on the yield, comfortably, consistently, every month for the rest of your life, as long as you're a shareholder, you own the stock of that company. And don't forget that when it comes to the stock market, there are two ways you earn income: through dividends, which is the income you earn, and capital gains. I don't know if everybody's following me. In case you have any questions. Yes, no, show of hands, comments. Okay, I'm gonna assume that you guys can hear me loud and clear. Okay, so they allow everyday investors access different sectors of real estate and receive income through dividends, right? So when we're talking about REITs, basically, they were first established in America, right? I always say things like, "There's so much money to be made in America." I love that country. You guys have no idea. So it was established in the US in 1960 to make income generating real estate accessible for the average investor, right? Currently, REITs are available in over 35 countries, UK inclusive, Nigeria inclusive, US, all over the world. So for those of us that have been to Dubai, for example, I say Dubai because yeah, it's very distinct and popular. You would see that their real estate sector has been monopolized by two major companies called Damac and Emma. What's the difference between dividend and capital gain? So, um, okay, so let's say for example, I tell you, you give me 10,000 naira or 10,000 pounds to do a business, right? And I'll say, okay, I come to you and say, okay, give me 10,000 naira. I want to do a business, right? I'm going to pay you income for that loan you've given to me, right? And I'm also going to give you like returns. So capital gain is appreciation on your capital. So let's say I took that 10,000, just like the parable of the talents in the Bible. Let's say I took that 10,000 naira now, right? And I go and do the business and I come back and give you 20K, right? That is your initial 10K plus extra 10K. That is capital gains. What that means is during the period I held your income, right, and I did business with it, Because I made profits, your capital you gave to me also appreciated. So capital gain is when your capital appreciates. So let's say you buy a land for 5K or for 1 million in Nigeria, and then you sell the next 2 years. They come and tell you, this your land is now worth 3 million. Oh, we have a buyer for you, and then the buyer comes and pays you 3 million. That extra 2 million naira is capital gain. That is appreciation on your initial investment capital. Now, dividends is income you receive, from an investment. So, for example, in the stock market, so dividends have various names. So stocks call it dividend. So that's where companies that you've invested in pay you dividend because you're a shareholder. So just like, let's say you give me money to run, I tell you to give me money to run my business, and I'm going to pay you monthly income every day. That's dividend. So people will call it interest, some will call it coupon, some will call it yield, but it's basically the same thing. So dividend is income, and capital gain is when your capital, that is your money, has appreciated. So there are two different things actually. I don't know if I explained well. Do you understand? Okay, you asked that question. Please let me know if I did justice to your question or if you need further clarification. Okay, so I was giving an example. Okay, thank you. I was giving an example of like Dubai. So in Dubai, there are two distinct real estate developers, Damak and Emma. So when you think of all the high-rise buildings, the apartment hotels, or the apartments where people go and rent and stay, they are the ones that do that those that build and lease those properties to people. Now, let me tell you why REIT is important, right, for businesses. So REIT save businesses the risk, the cost of entering a new market or a new location. So let's say, for example, now I am a business owner and I retail clothes, right? And I live in Nigeria, but I want to break into the UK market, right? Now, ideally, because I'm into fashion, I will need a store. Abi? So if I were to come and rent a store and furnish the store and do everything to my standard or my taste, that would cost me money and time, right? Now, this is where REIT comes in. All I have to do, instead of going through that stress and wasting my time and my money, I will just call up a real estate company and say, okay, I am trying to move to the UK. This is my business. This is what my business is about. This is the kind of environment I'm looking for. Do you have something like that available for me? And the REIT will be like, okay, we have something like that available for you in XYZ location. So risk take away that risk. So because now imagine if eventually I now come to the UK, let's say I got the property myself, I furnished it myself, and after wasting all that time and money, I now come. First month, no sales. Second month, no sales. Third month, no sales. Fourth month, no sales. Like that. And I decide, okay, you know what? It was a bad idea moving to the UK, or maybe it was a bad idea moving to Manchester, UK. I'll have moved to London. Let me move my business elsewhere because this place is not favorable to me. Now, as a business owner, if I decide to do that, it will also cost me money and time because first of all, don't forget that I have tied down capital money by renting that shop or leasing that shop for a long period of time and furnishing it to my taste. So for me to leave now, I probably have to look for someone to come and take the shop off my hands or wait for my lease to expire. So these are the kind of things that REIT solves for companies. But if I had the REIT, I'd have been like, okay, oh, since I signed the lease with you, this location I'm at is not working, I'm not making sales. Do you have a similar location that is like this that we can just transfer our lease so we can just move it instead of having to go through the whole process of starting to look for property again? So this is the importance of real estate investment trust. So it involves a wide range of sectors. So we have commercial real estate um, investment trust. We have healthcare. We have industrial properties. So for those of us that live in the UK, for example, look at the high-rise buildings you live in Manchester, in London. Oftentimes, they are built, managed, leased by real estate investment trust. All right. The hotels you go to, when you see, for example, Holiday Inn is a chain of hotel, Travel Lodge is a chain of hotel. You go to these hotels, they look exactly the same way. They are, the same smell, the same bed, the same every single thing down to it. So that's often because they are managed and leased by real estate investment trust. Now we have supermarkets, Tesco, Sainsbury, for like in I know in Abuja I would say it's what we call H medics, right? So all these are when you enter into them, like when you get into a Tesco store, you know you're in a Tesco store. When you get into a Sainsbury store, you know you're in a Sainsbury store. That is literally the feeling you get when you're dealing with rates. So for those of us in the UK, I don't know if anybody in the UK, the NHS hospitals, 90% of NHS hospitals are managed and leased by real estate investment trusts. If I'm not correct. One popular stock we call primary health properties. They manage and lease out almost all the NHS hospitals in the UK. So we interact with REITs every day in our life. The shopping mall we go to, the hotel you're staying at, that office building you're going to, even the house you're living, if you're not careful, it is either owned or managed by a real estate investment trust. So we interact with this business every single day. So it is an amazing way to earn passive income, right? So now, which now brings us to the next question: why invest in REITs? Now, because of liquidity. So we know that the stock market is very liquid. Like I always say, the stock market is a conversation between buyers and sellers. It is the huge market where people come together every single day to buy. I could be a buyer today, I could be a seller tomorrow. But the important thing is for every time you need to buy a company or a stock in the stock market, there's always going to be a seller available to sell to you. For any time you want to sell a company or a stock on the stock market, there's always going to be a seller available to sell to you unless your asking price is not good enough or your selling price is not good enough, right? As long as you're within the market bid price and ask price, you're definitely going to get someone to buy or sell that company from your hands. So, which now brings me to one why we invest in REIT. So, REIT is very liquid. It can easily be bought and sold on major stock exchanges in the world. You could buy a REIT on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, NGX. You could buy a REIT on LS, London Stock Exchange. You can buy a REIT on the New York Stock Exchange, Toronto Stock Exchange. So REITs can be easily bought and sold on major stock exchanges. So nothing like find me a buyer for my house, or landlord, my toilet has fault, or oh landlord, the roof is leaking, or the fridge is not working, or you need to come and do some repairs. Like it literally takes away all those stress. There is no agency fees, there is no solicitor or lawyer fees. You're literally just buying into the market, you get your money. If you choose to sell, you sell, which is why I said like you can literally earn consistent passive income for the rest of your life as long as you're invested in the REIT stock. So another reason why we invest in REIT is diversification, right? To provide a wide range of real estate investment opportunities. So normally diversification is one of the key things you need to do as an investor, to protect yourself against risk and to make the most out of your investments. So naturally diversify across sectors. Like, you could diversify, you could buy tech investments, agricultural investments, defense investments, energy investments. So you buy a mix of all these investments to balance your portfolio so it does not correlate. Now, in the real estate investment trust, it is very similar. So, for example, you could buy healthcare REITs, for example. I mentioned primary health properties. So that's buying REITs that deals majorly with healthcare properties. So there's one popular one I like that I have, Omega Health Investors. So they manage and lease out healthcare. You know how we have all these old people's care homes, right? They manage and lease out care homes in America. So their core focus is on healthcare. Care homes in America, recovery homes for those recovering from surgeries or major illnesses. That is how they make their money. So as long as there are old people, as long as there are people going through, life sicknesses and recovery, they're always going to be in business. So we have REITs that's like healthcare REITs. Then we have industrial REITs. So industrial REITs, think of like warehouses, right? When you think about warehouse, I know like for us in UK, when you go around, look around, you see storage spaces where you can go and store your belongings. So this could be classified as industrial REITs. Then we have supermarket REITs, like I mentioned earlier. So there are various types of REITs. We even have data storage REITs. That's an amazing. Like we have data storage REITs. So think of your, how do I put it? Think of your iPhone, right? When you buy cloud, or your Google, when you buy cloud, they have the data systems where that's the cloud storage. So when you're saying, okay, I want to buy 1 terabyte of storage, so that my iPhone would have lots of space, there's a data center where that, storage is coming from. There is data reads, right? So you want to have all this in the back of your mind. So when it comes to companies on the stock market, real estate investment trusts pay the highest dividend yield. Like I said, because I said it earlier, because they are required by law to distribute at least 90% of their income to shareholders to provide consistent income. Now, some real estate investment trusts can pay you, one every month. There are some that pay you quarterly. There are some that I think it's quarterly and every month. There's none that pay twice a year. So you could make money from real estate every single month, or you could make money like quarterly every 4 months. So they are high yield investments. I'm talking about as high as 11% per annum. There's a REIT that pays 13% per annum. You know, there is no bank, there is no savings account that is going to give you that high of a yield, right? So they pay high dividend yield. So if your investment strategy, you're investing for income, when you say, I want to invest to make passive income, I want to have extra source of income, these are kind of things you want to consider because they pay high dividend yields, right? So and that reason why we invest in REITs is because it is easily accessible. Nothing like, oh, that property is too expensive, I can't afford it. Like you can literally start buying REITs with as little as £1, with as little as $1, with as little as 100 naira. You can start investing in REITs, right? So it is very easily accessible for you if your dream is to invest in real estate. So instead of waiting until you have a whole lot of money to buy, like to have direct property ownership, you might want to consider investing in real estate investment trusts. Any questions? Do we have any questions, please? Okay, I think I'll just proceed. So I know I've mentioned like long-term appreciation and capital gains aside the income. So that's one benefit of investing in REITs. Like I said, you're not no tenants is disturbing you. You're not worried about fixing your any house issues or problems or buying and selling or tax or all those things that comes with physical real estate investments. Because you're buying. So when you invest in REITs, the companies do all that hassle, they go through all that stress. You're only just to sit down, relax, and be collecting your income, and also while your capital is also like growing, right? So now, when it comes to risk, risk is like every other stock in the market, basically. So we face stock market risk like going up and down, or let's say, for example, the UK stock market crash, the UK real estate market crashes tomorrow. Certain rates will be affected, especially if they are not dealing in, how do I put it, essential services. What I know, what I always say, like healthcare would always boom because healthcare is an essential service. Retail stores where we buy the things that we need every single day, like our toothpaste, our toiletries. our food items, they are also essential. So these are the kind of things to bear in mind and think if you want to invest, right? Which ones are essential? Because again, specific local market conditions can affect how the REITs perform. So the American stock market can crash tomorrow, and American REITs will probably start performing poorly, whilst you see UK real estate will be booming because it's UK versus America. So that is like another important thing you should know about REITs. Okay, so understanding your REITs return as an investor. So what is your dividend yield? So yield is interest basically. Like I said, remember I said that they have different names. Some call it yield, some call it interest, some call it coupons. So yield is basically interest. So I mentioned 13% earlier. That is like a yield. So why yield is important is we all know that one of the reasons to invest is to protect our money, especially against inflation. So you want to make sure that your money is doing well, like your money is, earning higher than inflation, or at least at par, but like it should be higher really because you want your money to really grow and be useful. So that's why dividend yield is very important. So you want to factor in, okay, this REIT I'm investing in, what is dividend yield? Then again, common sense. Like I said, you have to think. Ask yourself, this yield that this REIT is giving to me, is it worth? Like, is it? So is it going to be sustainable long term? Is it worth it? So, for example, if a healthcare company is telling me that okay, they're going to be paying me 7% per annum, for example, as yield, right? I'll be like, okay, that's not bad. They'll probably be able to sustain it because it's healthcare, it's essential services, right? People pay lots of money for healthcare. I challenge the country like UK where the government pays, so I can be like, okay, sustainable. But if a company that deals with, let's say, should I say storage or maybe hotels, for example, hotels say they're offering me 13% annually or 15%, something of that nature, something ridiculous like that. Yeah, it's juicy. It's gonna be sustainable as long as the world and the economy as we know it remains the way it is. God forbid is under COVID-19, right? Where people have to stay at home. Nobody wants to go to the hotel. Nobody wants to literally be outside their homes, right? People actually want to stay at home. So what does that mean for like a hotel REIT? It means that they're not going to be doing, there's not going to be any business for them. People will not spend money to stay in their hotel. People will not spend money to come and eat in their hotel. So probably it might not be sustainable. It might cut down, or they might, not decide not to pay, income for a while until they bounce back. So when it comes to investing generally, whether it's REIT or anything, there are certain questions you need to ask yourself. They are said that see, sometimes common sense will save you a lot. Like it's not even a question of I don't even know what to do, I don't know how to start. Like your common sense, just asking a question like, is healthcare like you just know that healthcare is essential. Like it's something that you need. We don't even know if tomorrow we'll need to even go and be in that place, So, but for example, there's one particular stock, one of my favorites real estate REIT stock. It's called EPR Properties. Let me see. Let me type it in the group. EPR Properties. But you're gonna see it actually in the slide very soon. So I still love APR properties. So they used to be like they used to pay good dividends every month. Like I was just chilling and all that. Then COVID happened, and they had to stop paying for a while. Stock price dipped for a bit, which is why, if you follow me now, I've mentioned that the fact that you're investing and you see the stock price go down, or you see your investment go, that doesn't mean that you've made a loss. That is just an unrealized loss. We call it paper loss. It is you that determine what that investment will turn out for you. So if you panic and sell, you've made that loss final. But if it is a good company that you believe in, that you're holding on to, if you don't sell, what does that do? It bounces back up. Case in hand, EPR properties. So EPR properties was paying good dividends. COVID happened, it dipped, right? And then it stopped paying dividends. Why? Because EPR deals with entertainment properties. So think of the casinos in Miami, in Las Vegas, in Macau, China, they are the ones that build, lease, manage these properties. So their core focus is how the rich men go to the casinos and gamble their lives away, even the poor people, all those gambling and betting. Yes, that's how they make their money, right? Then plus the rent from the people that pay and all. So when COVID hit, what happened? People were staying back in their houses. People were no longer going to amusement parks. People were no longer going to casinos. People were no longer going to um, to what they call this thing. I forgot. There's another thing that's in my head. It's an entertainment center. I'm trying to remember. You know, all this indoor gaming thing. There's a name for it. People are no longer going there because everybody was scared for their life because COVID was being transmitted through droplets. So what that meant was it had an impact on the business. So they couldn't pay dividends. So the all they could do was to basically like maintain and sustain the business itself, but they could not like pay regular income. They could not arcade. Thank you, Richard. That's the word. Thank you so much. Arcade, yeah. So they couldn't pay regular income. So what did they do? Like, okay, COVID. We don't know when COVID is going to end. We have to check our books, our finances, and see how we can literally mitigate our losses and just take care of ourselves. And so they told the investors, hey, you know what, guys? Property is not income is not coming as much, so we can't pay you guys income, so everything just halted and slowed down, right? Now, did people sell? I mean, I'm sure some people would have panicked and sold. Again, those that don't have the knowledge or the strategy, people held. I held onto it. I bought more, right? And like I said, currently one of my favorites performing REITs as well in my portfolio. Because why? Now the world is back as we know it. People are traveling, people are going to amusement parks, people are having fun, people are in casinos, people are gambling. My friend was the man I could they said, oh my goodness, I was in this casino, you should be here. Like the ambience was so good. I don't know when I went to go and spend money I did not have. And, things like that, and we just laughed about it. So this is how they make their money. So now, if they come and tell me tomorrow that you know what, we are increasing our what do you call it, our yield, which is remember I say yield is interest percentage to 20%. Now one of the key thing about investing, do not be greedy. Guys, you see, if you're greedy as an investor, you will lose money. Do not be greedy. Do not have fear of missing out. Have emotional intelligence. Because usually they come and tell me, oh, we're going to increase our to 20%. I mean, I love the company, no doubt. But they come and tell me tomorrow, oh, we're increasing to 20%. I'll look at them like one eye, like, okay, cool. Is it sustainable for now? Yes. What about if something happens in the future? What most people will do, they're not probably gonna carry all their money and put their probably 20%. Again, that is not a bad idea, but unless you have like an exit strategy, don't even bother. Because I'm looking at you like, okay, you're doing entertainment though. Entertainment is essential when the world is okay, but it's not that essential when the world is not okay. So will I trust you blindly to just carry my money and give to you without diversification? No, I will not do that. Why? Because in as much as the going is good, when the going is good, if the going is not good, it will not be good. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, Sha. Yeah, so then that is dividend yield. So if you want to calculate your dividend yield, just calculate like the annual dividend payout by the current share price. So what that means is if, for example, you have a stock you bought at £100 or $100, right? And that $100 is about 10 or 20 stocks, whatever, but just $100 your total net worth. And the stock pays you £5, in a year, for example, for that $100 stock that you own. What that means, you have to divide your like the so and then the share price is basically, let's say, £5. No, share price is $100 actually, and then they pay you £5. So you have to divide five, like you have to divide it basically, annual dividend payout by the current share price, and then you actually get like your yield. So for every $100 you invest in that company, you're gonna get paid £5. However, because of compound interest, that number is going to increase. That's going to be a topic for another day. The number is going to increase. So capital acquisition is another way. I mentioned it that you make money in two ways: capital acquisition and dividend yield. So Literally, you put your 20K, to earn income, and then you're getting your cool £1,000 a month or £500 every month, stress free. And then you wake up in the morning, you open your app, and you're saying, your 20K is now 21K. And then the next day you've come, your 21K is now 22K. And then you're still earning your regular monthly income. So those are the two ways that you make money, from REITs and from the stock market in general. Um, yeah, so again, for those of us in the UK, America, I know Nigeria too, because they don't even tax that much Nigerian investment. So when you want to invest in REIT, the best way to get like the full return on your income is to invest using tax optimized accounts, tax efficient, tax advantage accounts. Like for example, we have the ISAs for those of us in the UK. In America, we have the IRAs and the 401ks. So what this means is when they're paying you that 1K, like government is not taking any penny. It is all yours. Both the income you're gonna earn and the capital gain. It is all yours. So government is not gonna have a say because you've invested in a tax efficient account. So every single thing you make, your earnings, your income, your capital gain is tax free. Guys, any questions so far? Yeah, there's one important business I forgot to mention. Thank God I saw it here. Advertising. Advertising. Like, so we have REITs that are like focused on advertising. So think about the high-rise buildings with billboards or with banners over it. Think about the big billboards you see like on the roadside, with advertisements. They are also managed by REITs. Like I said, Amazon warehouses, I mentioned that Realty Income, owns and leases like their warehouses to Amazon. I said that at the beginning of the class. Currently, the last time I checked, over 170 million people invest in REITs. I mentioned apartment buildings are owned by REITs, grocery stores are owned by REITs, hotels are owned by REITs. Walmart, that was what I was thinking I think about. So Walmart and Walgreens Grains Alliance, they are owned by REITs. So, like I said, we interact with REITs every single day. The store you go to shop from, the hotel you sleep when you go for vacation, the hospital you go to, the apartment you live. You show me that I'm so sure that the apartment I'm living in is probably owned and managed by a REIT, or they built it, or they are leasing it, or they are share managing it, something. So like I said, it takes like away stress. So we interact with it every single day. So you need to learn how they work and how you can get paid for them. Okay, guys. So do we have any questions like how you have different rates? Yes, Billmon. Like I said, like I mentioned, we had look at like residential rates, the houses you live in, office rates. Yes, I forgot to mention office rates, right? Office rate. That was why during COVID, it was easier for so many companies to do that work from home thing because they were not the owners of the properties that they were working from. They were leasing it out from REITs, which is why I said like all it takes is one small thing to happen. So you need to always ask yourself, in as much as this is a good business, a viable business, like is it essential, right? So if not, if it's not essential, but you still like the return and you want to invest, then you need to know what your exit strategy is gonna be. If you're buying in maybe for the high returns, you want to decide that okay, you want to earn this money X, Y, Z. Currently, there's a stock we buy in my group. It's a risk high risk stock, but it pays good money. When I mean good money, I mean like over 30-40% per year, right? So putting our money in a savings account was not making any sense. When if you put our money in that stock, you could be earning like $100-$200 every single month, like you know. And we thought about it, we were like, let us. So we all we did, we invested, but we have an exit plan, right? And I know someone that have literally almost recouped their initial investment. That is how funny it is. So you need to have an exit plan. So there are different types of it. So we have like office REITs. So I know like I mentioned EPR properties. I put it in the chat. EPR is entertainment REIT. So they deal with casinos, entertainment centers, arcades, amusement parks. They manage, they lease, they rent. Then realty income is kind of like I like what a consumer staple REIT or stock. So in the sense that they deal with companies that provide essential services. So what that means is they deal with companies that no matter what happens, come rain, come shine, they will pay them rent because they sell essential services. Example, Amazon warehouses. Example, Walmart, like Wall Boot Screens Alliance. These are stores that sell the things that we use every day. Our toothpaste, our granite oil, our toilet roll, our water. Trisha, what's your location? You can invest in REITs using your brokerage app, like using like any stock brokerage app. Billmon, what I'm gonna do is hold on. So I'll just type out a couple of REITs in this chat for those that are here. And there's EPR properties already. So just look out for like the things I'm typing. There's Omega. Investors. Um, there's what else? I'm thinking of something in my head. Main Street Capital. So like the funny thing, we even have REITs, right, that are focused on like houses like that are developing. Like let's say developers are struggling to finish their houses, they will come in and now come and loan you money to just to take like a percentage of equity from the money that they've loaned to you to make money. So REITs are amazing. Like, you have no idea. Again, it doesn't mean that they don't carry their own risk. Billmon, I think like I've given you so data. There's a data REIT says I've forgotten the full tick. I'm gonna remember it hopefully before I finish this class. Yeah, so apartment complexes, single family homes, student housing, when you think about student housing, you're seeing like lots of houses, high-rise buildings, they're owned and managed by REITs, office REITs, retail REITs, like I mentioned, for those of us that live in UK, Tesco, Sainsbury, and stuff like that. So all these are REITs. I mentioned healthcare REITs, lodging, like hotel REITs, and all that stuff. Then data centers. I'm trying to remember data center. There's a REIT that I realized it. I was supposed to. It was in my head. I've typed out the data, but I can't remember the name. But I'll figure out the name. Meanwhile, in the chat, there are a list of REIT stocks. Then we have self storage. I mentioned self storage. Like right now, people are self-storing again. Those that cannot afford to pay their rent or those that cannot afford to buy properties, what are they doing? They are deciding to move their things into storage so they can literally like have a breather, to figure out their next steps in life. So basically the storage is not that expensive, but you see there's storage routes. So you could see one company have, hundreds of self-storage across globally or even in one state or in one country, so that's like REIT. Okay, so shopping malls like this, REITs, shopping malls, like I said, data storage centers, REITs. So I've already given you guys a list of some REIT stocks, but this is what I typed, like one of the ones I put out in the comment, like realty income. So it's called realty, but it's also called realty income. So it is called the monthly dividend stock. One of my favorite stocks. It is a dividend king. So dividend kings are basically stocks that have paid dividends consistently for over 25 years. So this company has paid dividend consistently for over 25 years with increase. So what that means is they also increase the dividends they pay because like I said, remember they are mandated by law to pay out 90%. So the dividend deal, which like I said, is interest. You're welcome, Billmon. Is usually it's always been between 4.5% to 5%. He pays dividend every single one. Like I thought, like from like the 12th to like the 20th of the month, I know to expect my dividend from these guys. So they pay dividend every single month. So think about what 4.5% monthly can do for you if you're an income investor. You know, now, like I said, the 20K or the 550 million, 100 million, whatever money you're saving to buy a house or to build a house, which again, I'm not saying that physical real estate property is bad. No, I'm not saying that, even though it carries more risk. I'm just saying that there are options available for you to choose from based on your the current situation or the current level of your life. I, for me, I've never really been a real estate person because my dad is a heavy real estate investor. And something I've learned is not liquid because you have to have a lot of money and large scale to, well, in Nigeria, though, to make that work for you. Plus, I like to just carry my bag and move around without thinking, oh, my house is somewhere. Did I lock my window? Oh, they said there's flood. Did the house flood? I don't have strength for all those problems. Maybe in the future, but not now. So realty income is one example. I mentioned EPR properties. Yes. So why I said EPR properties was good because of like the yield. As you can see, 7.04%, and you get this paid every single month as well. So like I said, it's specialized entertainment, casinos, key amusement parks, theaters, so your cinemas as well. I forgot to mention cinema. So cinemas are also owned and managed by REITs. So the cinema you go to watch movies are owned and managed by REITs. So the dividend yield of the stock is 7.04%. So again, think of what 7.4% on a dollar investment or a pound investment can do for you as an investor, the kind of income you can get from it. Okay, Q and A. I have a little bit of question and answer. So let's say you bought a house for 500,000 pounds or 500,000 naira, whichever one, right? And the value drops to 200,000 pounds or naira. What will you do? Trisha, yeah, so you're in Nigeria, so you can use bamboo and trove to invest in REITs. You can also open accounts with like asset management firms like Cardinal Stone to also invest in Nigerian REITs, right? We can get these REITs I mentioned, the foreign, the global REITs on bamboo and trove. Okay, guys, so the question is literally here. It says, if you bought a house for 500,000 pounds and the value drops to 100,000 pounds, what would you do? You need to answer in the chat. What will you do? Okay, someone has answered first. Who again wants to try? Who else wants to try? Gilmore has said he'll wait until the price appreciates back. Anyone else wants to tell us what they will do? Richard, Tricia, Okiki, I don't know if you guys are still here. Charles, Abiodun, Femi. Well, I'm with Bill on that. I would also wait until the price appreciates back because, like I said earlier, it is, yeah, you sure, exactly, exactly, exactly. So you see, which is so now you guys are getting my point. Like you can rent it out, you know, you can hold it because you're gonna appreciate back. Why? Because this loss is not a loss. It is an unrealized loss. So we call it paper loss, right? So paper loss, it is your attitude. I always say there are two things that determine what you're gonna get as an investor. Forget about every other thing they say. Your attitude, which consists of your emotions, your mindset, right? And time. These are the two key factors. And guess what? They work hand in hand. As Patricia said, only if you trust. But how do you now trust you're going to appreciate? By doing your research and your due diligence, by investing in things that You literally believe and understand, right? So you're not going to just go and, I mean, if it's a property that you bought because your friend said, ah, Trish, let's go and buy property in this place. So because I know somebody that bought and they said it is hot cake, and then without doing your own research, you're not gonna follow your friend and go and buy. Or in that kind of scenario, if this happens, you probably panic and sell because you're not confident enough, right? It happens all the time. Some people, even if they are confident, they still make mistake. So the paper is a paper loss when it comes to this loss. So if you hold on to it, you've given it time to go back to original price and put you in profit, right? So which is why I said time and your attitude. If you panic and sell, again, which is your attitude towards the investment, what it does is you're gonna lose your money. Like you're gonna lose out. Like you've literally taken away the value of the investment. So there is nothing. It can't go back. Can't come down. It's just there. Like you just lost out totally. So that is the same thing with like your stocks. That's the same thing with your stock. So if you invest in a stock and it drops in price, that is not a loss. And this applies like other investments as well. I mean, aside crypto, that is, because crypto is highly volatile, right? So I do not speak for crypto. I'm talking about investments like money market funds, mutual funds, you know, maybe treasury bills, bonds. And it's not a loss, right? So you want to know, as long as it's a solid company and you trust the fundamentals and everything, then that's going to go back up. Okay, so with that being said, usually when the price drops, we buy more, right? And even if it drops, you're still gonna get paid dividends regardless. Like, you're gonna get paid dividends whether it drops, whether it goes back up, you know. So I always like to say that when it comes to real estate investments, right, if there is a country to bet on, it is definitely America. If there is a country to bet on, I mean America, London, Nigeria, cool, but America because again they're big, they have the numbers, you know, immigration and things like that. So there's a company to bet on. I feel like even now the UK because of the mass migration, right? So because again, people will always need where to live. And for those of us that have a lot of money, this is a good business model to start back in Nigeria. I'm pretty sure I should not say government, because forget about the government. But this is actually a good business idea, crowdfunding, start. So I like to ask a question, if you're to buy an investment property today, how much would you need? You probably need like tons of money, like I said, £50,000, that was 100 million naira to buy just a good property. And how long will it take you to actually now recoup that return on investment? It'll take you longer compared to if you're buying in the stock market. But again, stock market is very liquid, and all it takes is one news, one shift in consumer sentiment, one law, right, to come and see your investments skyrocket in capital gains. Plus, it is very liquid. So, the liquidity of the market is what makes investments grow faster. So I always like to say that real estate investing is a low to high to medium risk investment because basically you're risking your time because what if you wait all those years and it doesn't appreciate? You're risking your capital that could be deployed elsewhere. You're risking liquidity. Okay, what if when you want to sell, there's nobody to buy? So it's a low to medium to high risk physical real estate properties. It's a low to medium to high risk, which is why generally investment is a long term game, but real estate is a longer term game. So the mistake we make as Africans, which like I said, I've seen a lot of times, especially because like I have family members that did real estate. My dad was a core real estate person. Is that we think real estate is the be all and end all. So you spend, someone will make 100 million and they'll carry 95 million and go and buy a house or they'll go and buy a land, right? That is not an income generating asset. And then tomorrow they have this property or this land that is worth that expensive amount, but they're still broke. They cannot feed. or they cannot like tackle emergencies without looking for the same property that they bought to go and sell. Now they've not given that property time to appreciate. Why? Because it is not an income generating asset and it is not liquid. There was this argument that they had recently based on what this man's Oteola's book. People were like, "Oh, he has money, and the loans he took, and the bank will take collateral and they'll dispose it off." Take it from someone that has worked with like bank people, and I've heard stories. My uncle, all those, no bank right now wants to take your property for collateral. I mean, they will because again, it's better than nothing. But it is very difficult to dispose of these properties, especially the expensive ones. Okay, again, remember I said real estate is not liquid because if I want to buy a house tomorrow and I hear is a house that bank collected from somebody and the person did not pay and the bank will say, you think me I'll go and put myself in that kind of stress? I will not do it. you know so these are the kind of things that you need to like, again, which is why I said investing is a personal journey. Trust me, like, you have to determine what success means for you. You have to determine what how you want your investment journey, your investment portfolio to be. If you want to go and buy a house, if you feel like that is your own definition of success, by all means, like, please go ahead. But the point is, like, you understand and know the options and choices available, for you and things like that. So EPR properties, as at the time I did this slide, used to be $48.55. If I check the current price of EPR properties today, you see that it has appreciated what I call capital gains. 1 minute, let me quickly just pull that up. We're about to round up, guys. Let me just quickly pull this up. Okay. Okay, so when I did this slide, it was 48.55, which was like a couple of days ago, but I'm trying to share another slide with you guys. Yeah, but as today, it is this amount. It is this amount, right? So it has grown from 48 to 53.99. This is what I call capital gains. And this is aside the dividends that I will get paid. Now, with that being said, let me also go back to the previous screen I was sharing. Let me share that part. Sorry, guys. Okay, so as when I did this video, 100 shares of APR property was about $4,855, and the dividend yield was 7.04. So what that means that in a year, based off of this amount, you earn $342 aside compound interest, and then your monthly dividend will be this amount. That is, let's assume you invested this money lump sum at once, right? But if you're a dollar cost average, which is why I said aside compound interest, you're probably going to get like more value for your money because of the capital gains, right? So now, the good thing about investing, which I love and I like to say it, is you can calculate the future time value of your money. So seeing this, you're thinking in your head, like, okay, if I want to hit, let's say, £1,000 in like, let's say, monthly dividend, or at least 500, or even if it's 200 monthly dividend, you just know how to make that calculation, right? To make that work for you. Again, you can factor in capital gains, that's compound interest, or not. What I always like to say with investment is try to like under calculate it so that your returns will be good to you. How do I put it? Your returns will wow you or surprise you per se. So this is basically just like an example. So an extra $28, what would you do for you? Now imagine you keep reinvesting that $28. You get $28 in a month, you reinvest it. You pay another $28, you reinvest it. in 2, 3, 4 years. You Because for every money you reinvest, like I said, is why I said aside compound interest, right? Your next payout is going to be bigger. So I think the key takeaway from this class basically is investing in real estate does not always have to mean buying a house. If you're not quite ready to own a property, you think it's too expensive, you know, you want to tap into the global real estate market, you want to understand what opportunities you have available to you as an investor. You want to check out real estate investment trust. They even have like mutual funds for real estate investing. So basically, I like to say like real estate investment trust is you investing in your real estate and properties without having to fix toilets. Like I said earlier, dealing with tenants. Somebody's telling you, oh, you need to fix a broken pipe, or my fridge is not working, or my house is leaking. You really do not have all those stress, as a real estate investor. So I like some people, is dividend is a new pension. So guys, when I say investing can change your life, again, I put my money in my mouth is I practice what I preach. So if you cannot see it from me, again, I don't know what else to say, but investing consistently can change your life. And forget that whole noise that says you need to have a lot of money to invest. You need to start with a lot of money. That is absolutely not true. That is totally not true. Like when you start, which is why I said compound interest. Your efforts compound. Just the same way that you decide not to drive the car today, you're scared. You enter into the car with your driver, your instructor, and then you're scared. You do it again the next day, you're scared. The third, you're scared. By the fourth day of it, you realize that you're not as scared as you were like during the first time. Plus, your hands are stronger. So it is practice, intention, consistency. This is how you build wealth. Trisha, from my very humble opinion, you can monitor the market, but do not try to time the market. And what I always say is invest consistently whilst giving room for a pullback. Like currently, the market is dipping, it's in red. So this is a pullback. This is, for me, this is a good time to buy, right? I actually ranted about it the other day where like the market just dipped after I had invested my monthly allowance for investing, and I'm upset. So what I would say is that the goal of investment is to buy low, sell high. So it's basically to make profit. So when you have this at the back of your head, it helps you make informed choices and decisions. So another important thing to note is that you're investing long term, and because you're investing long term to build wealth, the time is important when you're investing long term, but it really does not matter because again, if you're using dollar cost averaging, where you're investing little by little every month, every week, at the end of the day, you're gonna get value for your money, like better value for your money. So try not to time the market, especially because you're a beginner. Like you're gonna do it wrong. What I would say is put your ears on the ground. Listen to financial news. Follow people that talk about finance. Or like me now, as the market dipped, even on my Twitter page. I made a post lamenting. On my Instagram, I made a video saying how like I literally just spent the last £500 to buy a stock. Only for me to wake up the following day and the market had dipped. And I had been waiting for this dip since. So it happened. So I ran. So of course, if I'm ranting and you hear Jennifer say, "Oh, the market has dropped," okay, market has dropped. So let me go and buy. Let me go look for money and buy. So if you cannot do it yourself, you need to be in circles, where you can get this information firsthand. Because ordinarily, nobody can time the market, and that's the honest truth. There are things that Trump would say that you would think that the market will react in a negative way, and the market just chills out. And there are times when he will just cough and the market will start reacting. All right. Which is why I say when it comes to the market, like aside global policies, which is not systemic risk, those are the ones that we cannot diversify out of because it is global, it's policies, it's leaders. Um how Richard, sorry, I didn't get your question. How what? Um I've lost my train of thought. I was saying something. Right. So basically, you just can't really predict the market that much. But what I would say is the market has patterns basically, Um, on my Twitter, the link to join is in my bio, Richard. Links join is in the bio on Twitter. Or you can send me a DM and I'll send the link directly to you. But links join is on Twitter. Abiodun, I literally just dropped a list of rates as I was typing them as we're having this call. And because we're about to end the call, I advise you like copy or screenshot it real quick because I don't know if okay, actually if I end the call, it's gonna like play, it's gonna stay back like on the channel so you can come back and rewatch it. So that's no problem. So you're cool. I put out like a list of some of like I put Realty Income, EPR Properties, Main Street Capital, Omega Health Investors. I think I put out those four. Yeah, I know. I have the Nigerian REIT is literally on my tongue, but at the tip of my tongue, but it's just not coming out. Like my brain is not pushing it out. If that makes any sense. I'll probably drop it as a tweet if it comes to my mind later, and the data REIT as well. Like I actually just typed data here, but that's still not come to my head. Okay, guys. So with that being said, happy investing. Any other questions? We can take questions now. I'm done talking, and I hope like you guys learned one or two things from this call. I like it when people ask me questions because in my head I feel like okay, like you're paying attention because you cannot say that you understood everything, even though I know your brain needs like reboot and absorb because asking questions is one of the fastest ways for you to learn. Contributing as well is another fast way for you to learn. So any questions, any contributions? Can you send the slides to me? I want to go over it again. Charles, how much will you pay me like this for this extra job that you want to give to me? How much? Name if you give me an offer that makes my soul glad, I'll consider your proposal. How do I send the slides to you? Okay, for Charles, how do I send the slides to you? That's not the question, but you can let me know how to send the slides to you. Anyone else have any question at all? Again, no question is too stupid. We have 8 minutes until the end of this call. Chelsea, I don't know why you're laughing now. Sha told you what I think. We have 8 minutes at the end of the call. Chelsea can send me a DM on Twitter. 8 minutes at the end of the call. So any question, so no question is too stupid. Trust me, no question is too stupid. Every question is acceptable, allowed. Ask me now, don't come aside in my DM and be saying Jennifer. I usually don't go to my DM because I'm overwhelmed. The messages there are plenty. So unless like Charles now I've told him to send me a DM, so his name is going to be in my brain. Come and send me a message. I might see your name and I might just forget. I might just like ignore. So ask your questions now. Okay. With that being said, I hope I was able to convince and not confuse you guys about investing in REITs. And with that being said, it was nice doing business with all of you guys. But it was nice chatting with you guys. It was nice having this call. Are covered calls allowed on REITs? Of course. Oh my goodness. I don't think anybody has mentioned covered calls to me in a while. Covered calls are allowed. So you can do covered calls on any stock you have at all, as long as you're sure of the fundamentals and the movement of that stock. So yes. Shisha, I'm waiting for you. You're still typing. Femi, yes, I have a WhatsApp group. That's what I was saying. Like the link to join is in my bio. So, Trisha, I recommend everybody has four core stocks in their portfolio. And for proper diversification, I recommend having at least one growth stock. Trisha, forget about covered calls. Like, I don't know how to explain. Like, I feel like you're a beginner. Covered call is a form of you're betting on your stock, right? Like trading. some people gamble with it, but usually it involves like technical analysis and fundamental analysis. So it's more like you could do a cover call and say, okay, like um, I'm betting that the stock is gonna go back up. So because of that, pay me XYZ amount. If the stock goes up, you can buy. If it goes down, you can buy or I can sell. It depends. Hold on, email. Okay. Hey, wait. Okay, so with that being said, Trisha, so index funds or ETFs, right? REITs, growth stocks, dividend paying stocks, and um, the dividend paying stocks are consumer staple stocks. So index growth, REITs, dividend paying stocks, yes. So let me write them down here. Why is my this thing in caps? Wait. Dividend plus slash dividend stock slash consumer staple. Consumer staple stocks. Okay, so why does it keep saying error? Try again. I should just put like a whole ass message. Let me- Do you guys see? Copy, please copy. I don't have to type it again. Paste. Okay, that has gone through. So which means other one too was actually error. Let me copy this one and repaste it. So this is multi income stock. I didn't know that this was not sent. Okay, every other thing was sent. Okay, cool. Okay, guys. Any other questions before I leave you guys? My goodness, I'm so sleepy. Thank you, 1G. Well, say I just called you 1G. Just like, it's moving well in my mouth. Thanks, Trisha. So if you guys have any questions, you can also like tag me on Twitter and ask. I feel that's like the fastest way, not in my DMs, please. Like a proper like Tyrell. But Richard and Charles, I'm gonna go to my DM because of the both of you. But if you have any questions at all, or maybe send me a DM and I don't respond, you just actually ask me, ask like tag me, and oh, thank you, Trisha, and I'll literally respond to you guys. So um, have a good evening, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. And yes, I hope to hear like good stories, success stories from everybody. Have a good evening, guys. Bye.